There's a dynamic that occurs between men and women that is so subtle, yet so important that the success of a majority of relationships literally hinges on it being understood correctly. Luckily for us, it's pretty easy to find. All we gotta do is hop in the car. Today, we're talking about the concept of the passenger princess. If you ask most people about a passenger princess, they'll probably tell you the obvious that it's a woman sitting comfortably in the passenger seat while her partner drives the car. Simple enough. She's carefree, looking out the window, scrolling on her phone, taking a nap, and generally just enjoying the ride. And that word right there is key, carefree, because in that moment, she is free of responsibility. Now, at face value, this seems like a pretty niche thing. You wouldn't expect something so specific to become as popular as it has. A whole term women use to describe a feeling they genuinely enjoy in their relationships. So why is it so popular? What is it about riding shotgun instead of driving that's so appealing? I mean, do women just hate driving? Maybe some do, but that's not all of it. Or is it that they enjoy time away from the constant noise of making decisions? I use the term passenger princess not just to describe sitting in a car, but to describe a feeling that shows up across relationships. A kind of carefree ride. There are other seemingly unrelated things that fall into the same category. I'm going to use my own relationship as an example here. My wife loves that I'm naturally up earlier than her, getting a jump on the morning, boiling the water for tea, getting ahead on the kids' lunches, handling those early responsibilities before she even has to think about them. She also loves when I take over planning, and this is a pretty common one for a lot of us, I think. Dates, trips, events, keeping track of times, locations, logistics, all of it. So, what do driving a car, starting the morning, and planning a trip all have in common? They take the mantle of responsibility off of her shoulders, and it places it onto mine. My wife will often describe this as shutting her brain off. We went on a trip recently, and I planned all the logistics, and she was bragging to everybody about how she got to turn her brain off for a week. And I've heard that from other women as well. Not in a negative way necessarily, but in a joyful, sort of grateful way. The ability to just relax. To turn her mind into a blank slate for a little while and just enjoy the ride. And that ride isn't always literal. It's the feeling of moving from one place in life to another without having to carry the responsibility behind it. Kind of similar to driving a car. Now, the root of this goes back to something we've talked about before, and will continue to talk about. Men do what is necessary so that women are able to do what they want. And women do what is wanted so that men are able to do what is necessary. And around that dynamic goes. Now, those sound similar, but they are different. One is driven by necessity, driven by a love for duty. The other is driven by desire, emotion, and passion. And this isn't to say that women don't do what's necessary, or that men don't have desires and emotions. Of course they do. But think of this in terms of operating at peak efficiency within the context of your relationship. Men, yeah, you have passions, urges, desires. I know. But when it comes to your partner, your first question should be, what does she need to make her happy? Women, you are capable of handling responsibility when needed. But when it comes to the man in your life, what does he want to make him happy? And that's where many men get confused about this whole idea, I think. Because I think most men understand, on some rudimentary level, that they should be doing what's necessary. Any half-decent man worth his salt is going to get up off his ass and help you bring the groceries in. But then there are these moments where a woman steps in. She takes charge, handles something her own way. And men, you gotta understand, feminine energy is not rigid and consistent. It's fluid. It ebbs, it floods. And look, that's fine. She takes charge for a little bit. You stay constant, reliable, just there, being you. Eventually, she will likely shift again. Different direction, different motivation, yet always flowing around you. And to the men and to the women, it feels good. Because as I've said before, men and women are like rock and water. Feminine energy wants to move. It wants to flow, to adapt, to respond to what's around it. That's its natural state. But life, it introduces responsibility. Things that require structure, focus, stillness. And every time that happens, the flow has to stop. It has to take shape. It has to harden for a moment and deal with what's in front of it. And I mean, look, everybody does this in adulthood, but when that responsibility stacks up over and over again, that's where that feeling of overstimulation comes from. What being overstimulated really is being bogged down, not flowing the way that she wants. She's got a kid's lunch hanging off this hand, a laundry basket in the other, Bluey theme blaring at volume 97 on the TV in her ear while a kid is pulling on her leg for a snack. She ain't moving, fellas. She's bogged down. You know what she wants more than anything? Passion. To truly want to do the things in her life. She wants to do art. She wants to dance. She wants to fight for a cause, solve the mysteries of the universe, wants to go on an adventure. Hell, listen to Cheap Trick, gentlemen. She wants to want you too. Wants to want to do things for you. It's true. But necessity is a stationary energy. And life, in all its forms, will stop you dead in your tracks and force you to deal with it. So when a man steps in and takes on what is necessary, think of it as unclogging a dam. He's allowing her to return to a state that feels natural to her, that relaxes her. That's why something as simple as sitting in the passenger seat of a car can feel so good. Because for a moment, she doesn't have to hold everything together. She can just be. But let me be clear though here, ladies. This ain't no one-sided deal. Because when a woman feels that sense of relief, she doesn't just sit there and receive. She leans back into that relationship. Not in theory, but in behavior. For many women in our society, these are more traditional tasks. You'll often start to see her take more interest in the home or keeping things in order or cooking more or taking care of shared spaces. Or if there are kids involved, being more present with them, more nurturing, more engaged. Are these tasks their job? No, of course not. But they are things that enhance your life. Not necessary per se, but they certainly make the experience worth living. Or maybe she works full time and you don't. You take care of more of the at-home tasks. This principle applies the same. Is she operating from a place of passion? That could be her job, if she has the right one. You could be the house chef, a task she views as inherently necessary and detests. The roles can change. The motivations do not. And for feminine figures to be truly happy in a relationship, they must operate from a place of wanting. For men to be fulfilled, they must operate from a sense of duty. You know when women will tell you to shove it with making a meal, gentlemen? When you start expecting it. When you make it her job. When you make it necessary. You're not speaking her language anymore. Look, I can cook. I wouldn't starve without my wife, nor would our kids. I can jump in with helping with meals, and do. I also can, and do, fold laundry, iron my own clothes, and understand how a vacuum works, because I'm not an idiot. But yet, many times, I don't need to. My wife operates from a place of passion and wanting to do those things for me, and gets more done in a day than I get done in 3. And then she'll have a day where she operates at 20% max, and I need to operate at about 80. And yes, both partners can have days like this. The difference I need all of you to take note of are the differences in motivations. Wanting versus necessity. Gentlemen, she wants to want to do things for you. Ladies, he needs to be needed by you. Master the art of driving the car, gentlemen. Figuring out what is necessary in your relationship versus what she wants, and then take the wheel. You'll see more affection, more attentiveness, more sexual openness, more effort put into you. Ladies, learn how to let him take the wheel and follow your passions in more ways versus doing what is necessary. And in the exact same way, you'll see more affection, more attentiveness, more effort put into you. And I bet you your sex life is going to get better too. Not because this is her job or asked for. In fact, in my experience, it isn't asked for at all. A man in tune with his masculine roots will be indifferent to these wants when comparing them to what he views as being necessary. Go take a poll on women's opinions of needy men. Men who are constantly, in essence, wanting more than their partner is. I guarantee they ain't too good. She wants you to take things off her shoulders, gentlemen, not put things on them. And ladies, he wants you to put things on his, to give him that sense of purpose. But to stay duty-driven is to prioritize duty over that shoulder pain. To want to rub his shoulders post carrying that load is a key part of the feminine component of this. To want to do things for him. Ladies, if you look at your life as a whole, and everything you do feels like a necessity, and like nothing is coming from a place of wanting, you are out of balance. And in my humble opinion, it is likely contributing to a sense of feeling incomplete and unhappy. Gentlemen, if you look at your life as a whole, and everything you do feels like things that you want, feel passionate about, or urge for in the moment, you too are out of balance. And it is likely contributing to your sense of purposelessness and depression. We're acknowledging a pattern that shows up over and over and over again in relationships between men and women, but one we so horribly misunderstand. When a woman feels safe, when she feels supported, when she feels like she's not carrying everything on her own, she often wants to do things for you because she's in a state where she actually has the capacity and the desire to give. So for the men, you're not doing all this driving for nothing. When you create that space, you're not just giving. You're creating an environment where she can naturally give back. And for the women, if you feel like everything in your life has become obligation, and you miss that feeling of actually wanting to show up for your partner, that's a sign something in the dynamic is off. Because when it's right, that desire tends to come back. She doesn't give back because she has to. She gives back because she finally has something left to give. And that is the exchange. That is the balance. That's what makes the ride feel so good. If this resonated with you, I invite you to join me here for future videos as we continue to explore this dynamic. Until next time, ladies, gentlemen, be good to each other.